We're here with U.S. Congressman Mike Bost to discuss kind of how the state and federal government is handling the COVID-19 pandemic. Congressman Bost, thank you for joining us here this afternoon.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
We have a few questions lined up for you. The first question we have is, are you personally pleased with the way the state and federal government is handling COVID-19?
I am. We're handling each issue as it comes up as quickly and as efficiently as we can. We've got the best of the best involved. The only thing that I dislike is when anyone, whether it's at the state level or the federal level, tries to pull in, understand that this COVID-19 is not Republican or Democrat. It doesn't care whether you're Republican or Democrat, and therefore we should not be working in partisan manners. We should actually be working for what's best for the people, to make sure that we protect their health first. Then we make sure that we protect the individuals, to make sure that they're not, whatever issues they have out there, whether it's job loss or temporary displacement of jobs, not being able to go to work, that is covered, and to make sure that our employers, small business and large business, as well as independent employers, have the opportunity to be made whole and bring the economy back. But the first thing, is most importantly, is the health issue.
And how do you compare the states and the federal government's response to COVID-19?
Well, let me tell you, the federal is just that. It is being done at a federal level. And let me tell you that we worked early to make that response happen. The president caught it early and said it was coming. A lot of people had a response of, oh, no, it isn't going to get that bad. But he said, yes, it is. We moved forward with the first level of the 3 tiers that we've worked on so far. Before we left D.C., we had the first $7.8 billion for tests, treatments, and vaccine development. Then we passed the second bill and then left it to the Senate, which they passed in last week, and that was the one dealing with, and when the president signed it, it dealt with the free testing, paid sick leave, and paid family leave, unemployment benefits that were expanded, and then boosts of medical funding. Now, the Senate today is then moving forward they moved forward last night with the third phase. We'll be moving at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning with that third phase, which includes an expansion of the ability to get the PPEs to the healthcare workers, taking care of health workers and hospitals to make sure that we can build them up to the level we need to, that local responders are also protected. Treatment and vaccine research is still in there, part of that too. Support for small business, support for colleges and universities, veterans health care, which is vitally important to me. That's my committee. The Department of Defense COVID summary, not counting the boost of federal tax days. Understand that both the state, when you ask about the state and the federal, the state followed suit and moved the filing for taxes back to July 15th. I think that was a good thing. Then the individual making less than $75,000 receive a $1,200 tax credit. Married couples making less than $150,000 get $250,000. I'm sorry, get $2,500 credit with an additional $500 per child. Those credits then phase out as your income comes up. But a person doesn't have to file a return. They only have to file income. They don't have to file a tax return, and they don't have to have an taxable income to receive those payments. But we're still awaiting all that. We've also did a lot of expansion on small business. It's different in the fact that the state, and I think that's where the federal government has done what they're supposed to do. Remember, the 10th Amendment allows the states to make their decisions at that local and state level. I think that's why it is you didn't see a federal shelter in place. Each individual state, based on their administration, could make their choices. I believe that, Illinois made theirs. The question is, in Illinois, it's very tough because the governor's making a decision based on where the large population is. That's in Chicago, not necessarily for what's best for the whole state. So, I don't have that position. I'm not elected that position, and I don't think that now is the time to criticize somebody and do political things. I just know that there's a difference in the state between the North and the South.
Mm-hmm. And are you worried about the economic impact that coronavirus will cause in Southern Illinois?
Sure. That's exactly why it is I supported this bill, why I am supporting this bill. The vote will go tomorrow. But there's a lot of things in the bill I might not support, but there are, but the positives and the things that we have to do far outweigh the negative. Benefits for our farmers, that's vitally important in Southern Illinois. Then, like I said, the allowing for individual contractors or self-employed people to access unemployment insurance, as well as the ability to put money back in their pockets, so that we can try to have the economy bounce back as fast as possible. Remember, if you look at what's happening to the markets today, the last 2 days we're up tremendously. Why? Because we're sending a clear message to the markets that we are making this investment, and I believe that you'll see us once, because it was not falsely, but let me explain this, because it was a government move to slow down very, very good markets by making a choice to make sure people sheltered in place, that they shut down restaurants. That was all very, very tough, and so that hurts the market, but it also hurts the locals. That's why we have to pass this bill. That's why we have to get it done quickly, and that's why the markets now are responding positively, because they see us doing that.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you might know, tests for COVID-19 can take days to weeks to come in,
Yes.
which might mean there are several more cases in Southern Illinois that we don't even know about. Are you personally worried that COVID-19 might begin to quote-unquote outbreak in Southern Illinois?
I am cautiously worried in the fact that we want to make sure that we want to act like it is. If it doesn't, then we're blessed. If it does, though, we need to be prepared. That's why all of my time has been spent on conversations on multiple 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 conference calls a day with our local health officials, our local emergency management service personnel, our local first responders, and as well as reaching back out to all of our committees to know what we're looking at to do from the federal level down, but also knowing what the baseline frontline worker has to have to make sure that we can get through this time.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you give me a brief description regarding the atmosphere in Washington, D.C. right now when it comes to COVID-19? What's in everyone's mind? What's the atmosphere?
Well, here's what's let me explain this way. There are those who, when they're talking about the vote, that everybody is in agreement. I mean, you could see that with the Senate vote last night. Mm-hmm. 96 of 100 voted for it, and the only reason why the other 4 didn't vote for it was either because they're self-quarantined or have been exposed. Okay, that's the only reason it wasn't unanimous. Now, the bad thing is there were certain games that were tried to be played by the speaker. There were people upset on both sides of the aisle over that. If there's one thing that we shouldn't play politics with, it's that. So now we're going to be moving forward. But let me tell you that there's also members that are concerned about not wanting to go back to make the vote. How are we going to do that vote without going back? And there's others that are saying, okay, we just got to do what we got to do. But I mean, it is a concern. If you're a member like anybody else out here, and you're watching this pandemic move, and you know who it affects. For instance, we have several members that either they have a family member who is one of those cases where they themselves, if they're exposed, they could lose their life because of their age and because of their pre-existing condition, or they have and I can think of one that he is very concerned about not going out to make the vote or making a vote in a way where he's not exposed because his 91-year-old father lives with him. And so, these are the concerns that you have. So you have your own family concerns, but you've also got the national concerns, and that's why you saw such a great reaction, even though the politics was played. But for the majority of us, a great reaction to understand. I guarantee you, You move forward with a $2 trillion bill, and you get a unanimous consent on it. That is an amazing feat. If you've been around that place much at all, but we know what we're facing. Which the experts have explained to us, because remember, it's about protecting life first, protecting the individuals, and then protecting the economy of the United States. Those three in that order.
Mm-hmm. Now, last week, Governor Pritzker replied to a tweet from President Trump saying he should get off Twitter and do his job. Do you think the president is doing his job?
I think that a majority of America believes the president's doing his job, and every poll shows that. I think it's time for people to quit going on the anti-Trump train and actually work on the issues we've got to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say to people who say there is more that could be done to prevent COVID-19?
You know, let's be honest and identify it for what it is. It was a virus that came out of China, that because we've got false information from China and half information from China, it spread as fast as it did. Most countries didn't pay attention to it. But when you look at what everything has showed and how early our president reacted, how soon he put the team together, the quality of team he put together, then the answer has to be, is there something else that maybe could have been done beforehand? Well, yeah, but the people that are telling now that certain things should have been done beforehand criticized the president when he started blocking travel and started blocking that. Now, it's always easy to be the Monday morning quarterback. If we look back at this, you can probably say, oh, maybe we should have done this. But the reality is, I believe we did everything as fast as we could based on the information we had, and the administration did a great job of leading in that.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think the projection that coronavirus will begin to decrease in the United States by Easter is a good presumption by the president?
I can't say that for sure. I can say that you want to respond with the most positive attitude you can, and with the hope that it is by Easter. If you can give people hope, they can stay focused, do what they've got to do, make sure they follow the health rules, but keep away the 6 foot back. Make sure you clean your hands, wash your hands. Make sure all of the things are followed. No going out and being with a bunch of people if you don't need to. If you continue down that path, then it's possible. If you don't, then we're going to have to watch this very closely. But also, remember this: the best thing for this virus will be warmer weather and warmer and humid weather. And so, because remember, it is, though it's not the flu, it reacts like the flu, and that it has a tendency to move away in the summertime. Mm-hmm. And then we've got to prepare for what might come back next fall.
Yeah. Now, that's a good thing, too, because it is 76 degrees outside right now here in Southern Illinois.
Right.
But, yeah, it's finally starting to get nicer out there. What would you say to people who think the stimulus bill has taken too long to pass through Congress?
Well, I'd have to agree with them. I have to agree with them because we could have had this done 7 days ago or earlier last weekend, the Senate was working on an agreement. Everything was almost set. And all of a sudden, Nancy Pelosi lands on her jet from the West Coast, and all of a sudden she has the most bizarre demands on things that have nothing to do with the coronavirus that all of a sudden broke down the negotiations at the detriment of the people who were needing them right away. And so, thank heaven, people stood their ground and said, no, we're not doing that. Nancy still carried her bill. It's just nobody was willing to vote on it. She finally, I think she read the polls, and that's a terrible way to have to handle this situation. When the reality is it needs to not be about polls, but about people.
Mm-hmm. And do you think the stimulus bill will help Southern Illinois residents financially?
I do. I think, one, it will help them over the hump of the financial hurt that not being able to go to work will do to their individual families, okay? Let me also say that it will help our small businesses and our farmers to give them a little more security. You know, when you shut down, if you're a restaurant owner and all of a sudden you've had to shut your restaurant down, I was met with right after this started. Matter of fact, when the governor closed down all the restaurants, he gave a 24-hour or 48-hour notice, and so the Monday evening when it was closed. That was the last one. A lot of people called that Fat Monday because they were going out like Fat Tuesday, where they were going to eat at restaurants and everything like that. I was talking to a restaurant owner that night, and I talked to her, and she says, "Mike, 2 weeks, I'm okay. 4 weeks, I'm starting to sweat. 6 weeks, I'm out of business." And she said, "That's just the way you work in a margin like that." So the answer to your question about will it help Southern Illinois, I believe it'll help Southern Illinois families. I believe it'll help Southern Illinois individuals. I believe it'll help small business, farming, and large business as well, by encouraging the large business to make sure and keep their employees that they can on payroll, because the benefits that offered in the package, and then the amount of 100% guaranteed loans to get through this crisis that are offered to business, and being handled by our local bankers who know those businesses well.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess my final question is, are you pleased with the sense of bipartisanship in Washington over this COVID-19?
I'm happy with the final results. I was not pleased with the political games that were played by the speaker earlier this week. Okay? Now that's the best explanation I have. This is an area, like I said at the beginning of this interview, this is not a virus that cares whether you're a Republican or Democrat. This is a virus that is attacking the world and the American people. We need to drop the party lines and move forward with what needs to be done. And that is where I was very upset by those who play the party lines. I'm very upset also with governors that are so busy attacking the president on saying all the things he shouldn't have done, when they themselves had some issues too. But let's not go there. Let's get done what we need to get done, and understand that people are going to do the best job they can from where they're at, and bad-mouthing the other doesn't help the situation at all.
Mm-hmm. Now, really quick, just a personal question. Do you think, or not, in the Capitol, how are they trying to kind of prevent the spread of coronavirus in the Capitol building?
Well, let me explain that to you. Yeah, that'd be great, because you need to understand that. So the Thursday before we voted our last day on Friday, they shut down any tours of the Capitol, and the only way you could enter our building where we were at was you had to have a pre-approved appointment, and then a staffer had to go down to the front door and bring you in through the guards and take you up for a meeting. After they put that in place, we never had one of those meetings, okay? And it was right after we made our last vote, we left there. My staff has gone on working full-time, 24/7, on call, but working from remote locations with laptop computers and cell phones. Most of the staff have all done that. Only essential staff is left on the Hill. When we are being called back, we're hoping we're not going to be called back. We were going to open, we can vote by what is known as voice vote. Okay, if they do that tomorrow at 9 o'clock, then we won't have to call back. But if a member all of a sudden requires a recorded vote, now that means all of us have to then get on planes. We've got to fly back out there. But that being said, everyone that's working even tomorrow, they're going to have a special spacing, a special location to speak from. When anything has been touched before another member moves in, a person comes in and does the cleaning of it, microphones, podiums, all of the surfaces. And what we're trying to do is keep that as much under control as they can. They're explaining that to us. But if we have a member that all of a sudden says, "Oh no, I want a roll call vote," that's going to put all members in danger, because they're going to have to get on planes. They're going to have to go back. They're going to have to go through this process, but they're going to do everything they can as far as setting back and allowing spacing and doing everything that the medical professionals say we should do.
All righty, U.S. Congressman Mike Bost joining us this afternoon. Thank you again, Congressman Bost,
for joining us.
Again, 12th Congressional District Representative for the United States House of Representatives. He represents both Franklin and Williamson County and many other counties in our region. So thank you again, Congressman Bost. And
thank
that
you.
concludes the interview.